What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? Because you guys, you know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. Birth of MSOT Rocks or Rock Metal Thrive. Hey guys, have another happy Tuesday as we're starting to close out October of 2021. Oh my God, that is happening. How did that happen? And we've got another great band for you on the podcast. Hey, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, Phoenix Fitness. Mosh pits, my thing. I will not jump out of them. I'm like drawn to those things, man. And for me to want to be in there and do what I do best and, be in that pit for what I want to be in there for. The whole entire show, not stop, just consistently going and enjoying myself. Because if you guys have ever seen me in a mosh pit, you'll just see this happy, exhausted guy. But man, I'm not going to jump out of that pit. But to be able to do that though, and, come out with, being able to push people, shoulder checks, all that good stuff. I can be able to go into the gym and work out, get my strength up, specifically get my cardio up because, well, you need a lot of cardio for that. And I do that. But how do I recover? How do I make sure I prepare right as well, make sure my body is achieving those goals? That's where Phoenix Fitness comes in because they have different supplements to help you achieve those goals. Different pre-workouts, both stim and stim-free. There's the stim-free stuff because, well, me and caffeine, let's just say Kevin don't sleep then. Different BCAA recovery compounds, different creatines, different proteins for your morning, nighttime, and even after workout, especially after workout, that's what I use, and different multivitamins, whatever you might need to achieve your fitness goals. That's what Phoenix Fitness has for you. Our listeners get 15% off using the code MSOTD at checkout. FNXFit.com. Link description below. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. Now our feature presentation. Got to talk to this hard rock band called Artifas today. Got to talk to Cody, their lead guitarist, Scotty, their vocalist, and Mikey, their rhythm guitarist. Their brand new album, Reflections, comes out at the beginning of 2022. We talk about their song, Leave Me for Dead, the idea behind it. We start to go through some of the instrumental breakdown of it. But then we really talk about the importance of just understanding the musicality and what artists go through in order to put these songs together. Every little detail they nitpick over. Every little thing they try and do to make sure that their storytelling is the way it is. How they're basically creating this background, this movie set for you guys with their music. And with your personal experience, how you can connect the music, that's when you put in your actors, you put in your action. You're the one that's directing it, but they're just providing you the study and the story. You're the one that's making it happen. And that's how we connect the music beautifully. It's a great way to start connecting with music. If you haven't, connect with this band. Listen to this podcast. It's a great one. Are you guys ready? Because I am. Let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. You know when I started this whole entire thing, my three loves of music were hard rock, punk rock, and then end up being metalcore as well. So when it comes to that whole entire hard rock thing, always do have a soft spot for it. Saw this band come across my radar. They have a brand new album called Reflections, which is coming out at the beginning of 2022 on January 14th. So you're going to want to make sure you get that pre-save thing going after we're done with this podcast because you're going to want to get to know about this band. So please welcome Cody, Michael, and Scotty from the band Artifas. So guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
What's up? Thanks for having us.
Yo.
Thanks for being on, guys. I mean, we talked a little bit earlier today about the day we're shooting this. I mean, you guys I know are riding high right now. It seems like every single one of your favorite teams has won today in the NFL. And I'm the odd man out. Thanks, Minnesota.
That's tough. It definitely feels good, though.
Hey, you know what? Shit happens. What you going to do?
Right.
So
I've watched plenty of losses as a Bears fan myself.
We know the pain. We're very aware of the pain of each other. So before we jump into everything, before we jump into your music, there's a typical way. There's times I like to start out this podcast. And the past couple episodes, I haven't really done it. But this one, I'm definitely going to go back to that because it's too much fun. So all three of you guys, I'm going to ask all three of you 3 questions each. The first question, it's all the same question, though. The first 2 questions, okay? Very simple. Very easy. If you do not know how to answer these questions, something is seriously wrong. But the third one kind of puts you on the spot a little bit in the most fun way. However, I will kind of give you some examples of stuff that I've heard from that third answer so that you guys have a little time to think. So the first question is, what is your name? The second question is, when it comes to Artifas, what do you do in the band? And the third question is, I would like to know a little fun fact or a fun, interesting story about yourself, your time band, whatever it might be, that'll hopefully make me laugh so hard that I fall face first on this table, smack my head against it so hard while laughing that I give myself another concussion, and then just have a great time doing that. I've heard some crazy ones to the point where I've heard stories where band members have chloroformed other band members, dragged them to a beach while they were passed out, buried them halfway in the sand, and then bought like a bunch of ketchup and squirted all over the place to make it look like their legs got bitten off by a shark. I've also heard stories where, you're on tour, you're driving, if you gotta go, you gotta go. So there's one band, guy went into like a giant bottle that was in the front of the car, threw the bottle out the window, only for the bottle full of pee to fall back into the back window and give the drummer a drive-by golden shower.
Oh, that's the worst, dude.
Oh my God.
Those are the two that always stick out in my mind as the funniest ones I've heard. I've heard some other crazy ones as well when it comes to just drunk running through the street. Basically, I think it was just in their underwear, might have been naked. I don't freaking remember anymore, but still, there's stories like that I've heard all over the place.
Always the drummer.
Yeah, always the drummer. So if you guys can top some of these stories, I'm more than ready to hear them. So whoever wants to start, take it away.
All right, so I'm Scotty Somerville. I sing for Artifas. And oh my God, I've got a few stories going through my head right now. But I think I'm gonna go with the famous Mikey in Philadelphia story. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. The whole day was just chaos. First off, we're playing at this place called Legendary Dots in downtown Philly. It's right on the main strip. One of the first things I see is this chick carrying this dude around on a leash, and he's got this full leather mask on, being her little puppy dog slave. And I was like, oh shit, this is where we're at right now. Okay. And we were out with the band called Serena the Fall, and it was the last night of tour. So they were all about some tour pranks. We're going down for the first time. And so they gave us, after every song, they brought us a shot of, I can't remember if it was vodka or PGA, but they brought us a shot after every song. So we're just slamming them. And by the time we get done, Mikey is trashed, full on trash. And I had sweat so much that I was barely even feeling anything. And so we get off the stage, and Mikey goes up to the dude with the bottle of liquor. He's like, give me another shot. And he takes a big shot, hands it back to him. And he's like, I need a chaser. So he hands him back the bottle of vodka. He takes another big chug of it, and then he hands it back to him. He disappears. And this girl comes up. She wants to take a picture with me. So I'm putting my arm around her. I'm about to take this picture. And Mikey comes up and pushes me out of the picture. He's just like, no, she's taking a picture with me. And I was like, all right, man. Here we go.
And then okay, yeah, go.
He puts his arm around her, knocks her and him both over. They both fall into the bar stool, and the bartender looks at him. He's like, you guys got to get him out of here. So we get him out. We take him, we put him out in the van at the time. And then we're standing outside the venue talking to a circle of fans, and somebody comes up to me and they're like, hey, you need to check on your guitar player. He's peeing on the sidewalk. And I turn around, and I think Cody was standing there by me. We turn around, and he's just this is Beale Street of Memphis, or Bourbon Street down in New Orleans. It was the busiest street in Philadelphia. And Mikey's just in the middle of the sidewalk, just dick out, just going to town.
He's got one arm on a P.O. box, and his other hand on his penis, and he's just letting it go.
There was a cop about to walk by and stuff, and then Cody just threw him in the van. But yeah, that was Mikey's drank too much story.
Well, then we had to drive home for 17 hours after that tour, and 21 hours actually. And he had alcohol poisoning and had thrown up in the van. So he was too alcohol poisoned to function and clean it up. So for the whole ride home, he just had to cover up the spotted puke in the van because nobody else was going to clean it up. We were like, I'm not touching that.
Rough times.
It's you made that problem for you. You got to clean that up whenever you're ready.
Seriously, dude.
I ended up with a hole in my leg from the house drum kit, and apparently Cody got in a fight with the house dude and broke his knuckle by punching the wall. So we had a great time in Memphis the next night.
Yeah, it was
not a good show the next night. Yeah, we drove 21 hours, and I played with alcohol poisoning, and he played with a broken knuckle.
Oh my God. And I'm pretty sure that's the night I broke my ankle.
How many things can go? How many things go haywire in the span of like 24 hours with you guys?
Dude, it's kind of like Murphy's Law. Whatever's meant to go wrong will go wrong.
Dude.
I left my entire life in a backpack in that venue. Luckily, the owner mailed it to me.
That's right, you did. I forgot about that. That was crazy.
Like, if I was the owner, I've been like, after that, do I really want to mail it back to this guy? But then again, if I do mail it back to him, that might be the thing where it's like, now I don't have to deal with him anymore. Like, he's gone. Leave him be.
I was a little concerned that he might not get his stuff back for that reason, but Mikey, you want to go next?
Yeah, my name's Michael Miller. I play guitar, and Scotty took my story. So, but maybe this will be a little bit impressive. I did do an entire tour with a broken collarbone, though, so that was an experience.
That's a good story.
Yeah. So we were on tour with this band Black Tide, and we had an off day at a skate park, which is a terrible idea for a band on tour, really. And our drummer Jared had this little like kid razor scooter. It was not an adult razor scooter, and we were just going down these hills, and when it just finally bottomed out, and I flew forward and like scorpioned on the ground, and immediately got up and just sat down. I was like, I'm fine, this is great. And then I went to put my beanie on, and my collarbone snapped. And we immediately went to the hospital, and it was a big waste of money because they can't cast that. And I sat down for 2 shows.
I walked over to Mikey, and he was like, I broke my collarbone, and I was like, Mikey's he's just hamming it up right now. He's fine. We take him to the doctor, and sure enough, it snapped. But I remember, even though like Mikey's in the hospital, and we're all like kind of waiting, and we decided to have a little smoke session in the parking garage. And then the security got after us, so we start like running from the security, and then we get back in the hospital, and I hit the elevator button because that was how I was going to escape them. I was going to land on a different floor, and the elevator door opens, and they're standing right there in the elevator.
Yeah.
I think when things start to go wrong, we don't know when to stop. We just keep
definitely
pushing.
Compiles.
Yeah, that was the same tour we got banned from North Carolina on.
Yeah, we're still apparently
we still are apparently.
Still.
How did you get banned from playing in North Carolina?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask that question.
Well, if you're gonna tell me that you guys are banned from playing North Carolina, the inquisitive nature of myself is going to be.
Somebody else has to tell that's the summarized version. I don't want to tell that story.
The summarized version, I don't really recall exactly how it went down, but
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, I was on hydros. I don't know.
The owner of like one of the clubs we were playing, like his girl was trying to get with us, and we never did, as far as I know. I don't think anybody did, but she was trying hard.
Okay.
And he found out and got mad about it. Is that in a nutshell?
Kinda, yeah. She may have sent a titty pic or two.
Yeah, she did.
That's pretty much what it is.
But they're still mad about it.
Yeah, they're like the promoter / venue dominant in that area. They I tried to apologize, years later, and he still wasn't having it. So I guess we'll have to find somewhere else.
Well, good thing there is another Carolina that you guys can still play in those. So
Indeed.
No doubt.
Okay, well, I guess that means it's my turn. I got a couple I could choose from. I think I'll go with.
You gotta tell your name first. You missed the first two
questions.
questions.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm Cody. I play lead guitar and do the backup vocals. And my story I'm going to tell is the time he's not in the band anymore, but our old drummer. We went to El Paso to play with Hell Yeah one time. And the night before we played with Hell Yeah, we had another show at like a smaller bar, and all these guys, like these Hispanic guys, they were down there buying shots of tequila and shit. We can't say no. We're like, basically on the border. We're gonna drink it up, and we got a little too drunk and ended
I played
up
for like 4 hours that night.
You did. Scotty was doing an acoustic set, and they were loving it, so they kept bringing us like whatever shots, and we ended up taking the party back to the hotel. And I remember we're partying in the hotel room, and our old drummer at the time was so drunk that like couldn't even handle himself. They had to like put him in the bathtub. They thought he had alcohol poisoning, and like he's a pretty big guy too, you know. So like getting him in and out of the bathtub wasn't so easy.
Remember, before we had to put him in the shower though, he went into the bathroom to take a piss.
I thought that was after, but
he came out because he thought it was funny and just decided to pee on everybody.
He did. He came out of the bathroom and like just sprayed, you know, like if this is the arch of his urine stream, it's just like wow across the room. It like hit Scotty
right across my abdomen, and I was just like, at first I wanted to be mad about it, but I was just like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever. No, nobody's ever just walked out of the bathroom and peed on me.
So he was kind of being a grade A douche canoe that night, and like passes out on his air mattress in the corner of the hotel room. And everybody else keeps partying around him. And the Mexican guys that we were hanging out with, you know, they were wanting to have some fun. And they saw this passed out drunk guy that just peed on everybody. So they just went to town. One guy shaved one of his legs, like pretty much halfway up. Another guy covered him in like shaving cream. They were like writing on him and doing all kinds of stuff. And when he finally woke up, like, I don't know if it was hours later or the next morning, he was just like, what the hell happened last night? And we were like, well, to be honest, you pissed off a bunch of Hispanic guys and they had some fun with you. They wanted to shave his eyebrow off. I was like, I don't think that's a good idea because he's going to be really pissed.
I was like, that might have been a little too far. Shaving one leg though, that's pretty funny.
That was like far enough, you know, to be like offensive, but not far enough for them to really get mad about it. So they really chose their pressure point good.
I mean, you could have shaved both legs, but then again, it's like, oh no, he just shaved his legs. Oh,
you're just doing him a favor at that point because he's gonna have to shave the other leg eventually. So you might as well make him do it.
Exactly. I mean, shaving an eyebrow though, especially after, you know, just walking out of the bathroom, going full on arch peen over everybody, and then just passing out. that could be grounds for a shaved eyebrow, but
he had it coming. Honestly, I just didn't want to have to deal with the wrath, so I was like, maybe we don't do that.
That's I was encouraging it.
Of course, that sounds about right.
I was like, otherwise, what you could have done was, as a compromise, could have shaved it, but then drawn it on in like Sharpie and just been like, put a little eyebrow right there.
If we were really trying to be in our game, what we would have done is shaved his leg and used the leg hair to make a mustache and attach it
or to make a new eyebrow.
Oh god!
Shave his eyebrow and put a fake one back on. Oh god!
Oh god! He would not have known what the hell was going on.
That'd be next level. Like we could then just pretend like he, you know, got into something he didn't need to, and his eyebrow fell off when he woke up. Be like, "What are you talking about? It's right there, man."
It's like, oh, you didn't know about eyebrows? Yeah, they just did a recent study where it's just one long, thick piece. It's not just individual hairs; it's just one long, thick piece. So when it falls out, the whole entire thing comes out.
It's gone.
Like roll it up into like a hair joint and just attach it to his face.
Hair joint. Check out this hair J I got.
Anyway, so that's that was my story. It concluded with us playing a show the next night with Hell Yeah, and one of the worst hangovers I can ever remember having. Pretty much everybody involved.
That day.
And we walked into the venue to do sound check, and the singer for Hell Yeah and Mudvayne is standing there, you know, doing his thing. And I remember TJ, the drummer, he said something about being hungover, and Chad Gray, he said something like, let me tell you, bro, after years of experience, don't start drinking again because that's only going to make you go down this road twice as hard. And I was like, that was kind of not a very cool rock and roll answer, Chad, but thanks.
Wasn't the rock and roll answer you were expecting, but it was more like the practical answer that you might have needed at that moment.
Because I mean, I was like dying, and like everybody's dying. I'm looking for you to tell me to go like drown my pain in more beer, you know. And he's like, "No, don't do that." And I'm just like, "That's so not rock and roll."
But we did. We continued. Like we partied extra hard that night, and we went upstairs because they had like this VIP party, and they had all these like strippers dressed as Kiss members.
Yeah.
And we went up there, and it was like the first time we met Vinnie Paul, you know, from Pantera, and one of the opening bands. There's this like large dude that played bass, and I don't remember what band it was, but I'll never forget this dude because he walks in up there and he trips over the stripper stage and just face plants super hard and busts his face all up.
The whole room like let out a collective, just like, oh, you know.
Yeah. Bloody dude and Kiss strippers. Like that was the rest of the night.
Let's say after that guy, you know, fell on the stage, busted his face open, what you should have done was like after he got his face all cleaned up, you know, his face probably gonna look a little rough. You got to make sure you spice it up a little bit. You guys could have gone with the face paint and made him look like Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think he was sober enough to sit through something like that. But
that is also a very good point. Not gonna lie on that one, Cody.
To be fair, I'm not sure I was sober enough to sit through that one.
You got any wild stories, Kevin?
What ones do you want to hear is the real question, because I've got a couple of them. Well, so this was, I'll give you one. This was back when I was about maybe 17, and it was me and two of my really good friends. We're just driving around. We're trying to think of something stupid to do because we're 17. What the fuck else are you gonna do?
Yeah,
and
right.
I get the bright idea of, what would be fun? Let's go buy a bunch of water balloons, fill them up, put them in a container, put them in the back of the car, and throw them at people while we're driving.
It's a great
Sounds like a good time in theory.
I'll say this. Right now, 26-year-old me thinks, why the hell is that a good idea? 17-year-old me was like, this is the best idea I've ever had my entire life.
I can definitely think of at least one reason why that's a good idea.
So we bought a bunch of water balloons. We filled them up. We put them in this bin. We put in my buddy's car because he drove like an 04 Impala, so it was a nice big car. And I was in the back seat. My best friend was in the front passenger seat. My buddy was driving, and we're just driving around seeing what happens. And we find a couple people and we fired them right away. And we hit them, and all of a sudden, like, we see these girls that we hit. They're starting to run towards the car as we go, and we're like, that's kind of funny. Wait, we actually know them. So we turned around again, and like they're like, what the hell was that for? We're like, oh, we're just having some fun. They're like, can we join you? And we just threw them at it again, and we just drove off. And then we kept doing stuff like this. But what ended up happening was we got to this spot here just outside of Milwaukee where it was, for a while, it's this long stretch of road where it's got a lot of business around. It's like a more major kind of street, but that's where a lot of people would like drag race and just have street races around like Friday and Saturday nights. And a lot of them would park their cars in a couple of different parking lots, and we knew which parking lots people parked their cars in. And we each had one balloon each left at this point. So we're like, we got to make this last one good. So we go into a Culver's parking lot. As we're driving down, we see a bunch of street racers and everything, and we see a couple of them that have like totally like tricked out, Pimp My Ride style pickup trucks. And there are a couple of girls that are laying in the beds of the pickup trucks. And we were like, that's it. So we rolled down the windows, and my buddy yells fire. And the guy that's driving to myself, because, we're like on the side where they are. So we have to fire out the window. Like, we can't like do a full arm. Like, we have to like, like alligator arm. It's like, ah. So we miss. My buddy in the front seat, though, goes full on like Kareem skyhook over the roof of the car, and this thing lands perfectly in the bed of the truck. Splashes everywhere, gets these light, and all of a sudden we're hearing what the hell's going. What the hell is that? And all of a sudden my buddy just peeled out of there, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and we see all these streeters start scrambling towards their cars because they're gonna come after us. I'm just like,
coming at me.
Presumably pretty fast vehicles. Just saying.
Lucky for us though was, again, like the area where this happened, we all lived in this area, so we knew all the little like nooks and crannies, all the different ways you could get around there. So we just lost them in there, and it was just like, then we went back to my buddy's house, and my buddy lived a little bit further away, so I was like, yeah, they're not gonna find us there.
Safe.
And good thing though was because that was the last water balloons we had, so it's like, oh, are these the guys that happened? No, we don't have any water balloons in the car. What are you thinking? But no, it definitely would have been
water balloons.
No evidence.
Hey man, all the evidence that we had is currently in the bed of that truck right now.
So you said you're in Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Is that the rave?
Yes.
Yeah, that place is super dope. We played there with Theory of a Dead Man. That was a cool spot.
Which so if you play there with Theory of a Dead Man, because with the rave they have 3 different levels. They've got the ballroom level, the club level, and the basement level. When you guys play with Theory, which one did you play in?
Level.
The club level?
Yeah.
No, well, we were on the main level, like the first floor, and then there was like an EDM show above us, and then the rooftop, right?
Okay, then you were in the club, because basically it's like, yeah, when you if you walk in through the front doors, like the venue of that area that is on, or the stage that's on that level is the club level.
Yeah,
and then
so that's where we were.
Yeah, because then you can go up, and then there's the ballroom. You go further up than that, and there's the rooftop where they have the bar and whatnot. If you go below the level where you guys were, there's the basement stage, and that's also where the haunted pool is.
I didn't know there was a stage down there, but we did get down in the pool.
Yeah. You did get to the pool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I want to say we smoked a joint down there, didn't we?
We did.
What else? What are we supposed to do around a haunted pool? I finally got to go a chance to see it last year during the pandemic because, of course, every stage was trying to like find a way to make money, and because haunted stage, haunted venue, Halloween is on a weekend. Oh shit! Let's just have people pay and come here, and let's turn off all lights, give them flashlights, and let them explore. So I did that one night. And I'm like, fuck it, let's go give this a shot. And I was trying to find the pool. I found it, and I was happy. Everyone that was around there as well with me that like was in the group that kind of like followed me to the pool. Everyone was looking like around the pool and was kind of freaked out by it because they had a smoke machine in the bottom of the pool in case you found it. They had a red balloon to the bottom of the pool grate to make it look like, Pennywise the Clown's down there. Should go check
That's
out.
dope.
So everyone's kind of got this like weird, like odd, like occult kind of vibe going on in there. So they're all a little scared. There's me with the flashlight looking at the wall, looking at every single signature, trying to find someone that signed the wall like on a day of a show that I went to go see. And I was not finding any of them. I was kind of like, man, why can't I find one? The girl that went with me, she's like, hey, Kevin, I think I found the one that you're looking for. I'm like, okay, which one is it? Literally walked to the top, like little balcony they had above the pool. In giant letters, it just said Ice 9 Kills was here. And it had the date on it. And I was wearing an Ice 9 Kill shirt. I'm like, that's the one. Because I was actually at that show. So I took a picture just like looking stupid as shit. But it was totally worth it.
Something like, isn't that where Jeffrey Dahmer used to get his like victims?
It's like the hotel over there by it. There's like the hotel across the street.
The Ambassador Hotel.
Like that.
Yeah.
But I think they were saying there's some kind of tunnel from the hotel to the club underground, and that's where he would like bring his victims or some shit like that.
See, I'm not 100% sure on that. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a tunnel between the hotel and the rave, just due to the fact that they're just basically kitty corner from each other. But I'm not 100% sure about the whole entire Dahmer connection to that tunnel. I am aware of the Dahmer connection to the hotel, but not to the tunnel or the rave specifically.
Yeah, regardless, that place is super dope. That's one of my favorite venues.
I'm actually supposed to go there the same day we were shooting this because Bad Flowers playing that. I got a ticket for it, but we'll see if we'll see if I make it after the weekend I've already
right. See if you recover enough.
That's the only way to get through it.
Pretty much. I mean, for me, usually when it comes to those points where it's because the stories that you told with Mikey, with your old drummer, with you guys, drinking as much. That was me at a wedding this past weekend, and usually for me when it comes to trying to kick all the all that badness out, all that alcohol, you just kind of get through that just hangover phase. I usually like to go a place where you'll sweat it out, you'll have a good time, listen to some good music, and just have a blast. But Bad Flower doesn't really induce a lot of mosh pits, so
yeah,
a little bit of a tough spot there.
That's true. Maybe there'll just be a lot of people there and it'll be hot. Maybe the AC will break. You'll be in luck.
There is no AC in that building, man.
Oh, then you're good.
All right, it's settled. I guess I can go take care of that. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to be spick span ready to roll and basically have to do the exact same thing all over again the next weekend.
There you go.
Except instead of having the show after the wedding, it's the show the night before the wedding, which I'm trying to get as many people that are in that wedding supposed to go to the show with me. Again, it's at the rave. I'm just like, come on, everybody. We'll see what happens, though. If I go by myself, I don't care. I'll be in the pit the whole time, and I'll just be thrown down having a blast, and whatever happens, happens. If I have to go to another wedding and have a busted nose, cut on my face from the pit, a black eye, whatever it might be,
Surely they won't get that crazy at a Bad Flower show. That'd be
the one that I'm going to that's before a wedding next week is not Bad Flower. It's A Day to Remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you might get punched in the face there.
Instead of me getting punched in the face, I'm going to be the one that has to do that myself, just like,
somebody might get punched.
I'm not going to crowd kill anybody. That's just not fun. But enough with I'll say enough with our crazy escapades and what we've all done and whatnot, due to the fact that as much as I like this, again, like I said earlier, you guys have a brand new album called Reflections, which is coming out at the beginning of 2022. You guys already have a couple singles out for that already. So I gotta start out with the album, like, especially with the fact that I know with a lot of bands, especially anytime I've seen any band release material over the past, let's say, year and 3 months, a lot of it has to deal with the pandemic and a lot of the emotions that were going on through the pandemic. So when you guys were writing Reflections, was that something you were focused on, or what was the idea behind it if that wasn't the case?
No, we were more so just kind of dug deep into ourselves and the stuff that we've been going through. Not so much pandemic related, but right before the pandemic, we took a little bit of a hiatus to try to get things lined back up and get some more music out and whatnot. And if anything, the break from it was almost like a blessing in disguise for us, because it gave us time to really get this record done the way we wanted to get it done and tie up a lot of business dealings and stuff. The toughest part has just been itching to get back out and play shows, which now we're headed back out the end of October. But the record itself is more, Cody said this one or a few times, and it kind of sticks with me. It's like journal entries, from our lives and stuff that we've battled with or dealt with. And we really dug into those things that you reflect on to learn from or grow from, and try to make ourselves more vulnerable so that, people could really relate to a lot of the lyrical content.
Gotcha. I recently actually had a conversation with the guys in the band, The City Is Ours, and they kind of had a similar idea that you had with their brand new record as well. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of times when it comes to music, people talk about their own what they've gone through personally. They put in their music because it helps them work through some of it. It totally is understandable. I totally get it. But one of the most important things about that too is, especially when it comes to society today, especially with a lot of people that might be listening to music, especially young males anywhere between the ages of, like, let's just say teenagers to hell, even mid to late 30s and even beyond that. A lot of times when it comes to expressing certain emotions and expressing certain pains that we might have had, a lot of times, we kind of shove that down and just kind of not deal with it. And by you guys, creating a record where you're doing like these journal entries in a way to the point where you're opening up about things that you've gone through, the experience you've gone through, what you felt in terms of bringing that forward, it's going to allow people to understand even more, be more open and honest with themselves to the point where we can end up deploying more compassion, more empathy, and basically make, a more understanding human race in a way, instead of just being all divided and just angry at everybody.
It's really like a big purpose, I feel
Absolutely.
like, for our musical direction when we're writing is like, I don't know. We had a kid call us this, in an interview a couple of weeks ago. And I guess it's not really that surprising because of, looking at the way we write music and stuff, but he called us emo. And to me, a lot of the time, that can come with negative connotation, but I will fully wear that label as an emo band, because to me, that just means that we're trying to write music that people can connect to emotionally. And, at the moment we start writing a song or the lyrics, that's one of our main goals. So I'm down.
Yeah. And it's a therapy session for us, doing that, like, bringing these songs to life and getting those feelings out there and stuff. And sometimes just something as simple as knowing somebody else is going through the same shit that you've had to go through is comforting in a weird way,
Mm-hmm.
just to know, hey, I'm not alone in this. I'm not the only person kind of feeling this way, and might make them feel like they can talk about it a little more and work through it. And
it's like as musicians, we're fans too, like we've grown up listening to all of our favorite artists over the years. And the one that always comes to my mind that was probably the biggest, like lyrical, I guess, friend to me was always Chester Bennington of Linkin Park. And when we sit down to write songs, he's probably like one of my biggest songwriting influences because of the way that he made me feel as a fan when I was in my teenage years and, trying to find myself as a person. And it's a lot of questions. And Chester, he never really seemed to provide an answer to those questions, but he presented the question to you in a way that let you know that he's also asking the same types of questions that you are. And for that, I was always, very just linked into their music and really down with their lyrics.
Totally understandable on that front as well. And because even with all of us, not just you, Cody, but like even with Scotty, with Mikey, with everybody else listening, even myself, it's when we listen to music as well, we listen to it because it makes us feel a certain way. We connect with it a certain way. And if someone's going to end up calling you guys emo because of that, then so be it, I guess.
I mean, the
However,
left fingernail polish and the eyeliner might have something to do with it too, but
I'll say it this way: whoever called you guys emo, if you guys weren't the biggest fan, I can always send this guy a couple of bands, and be like, okay, like no, this is emo, and show him.
Hey, I'm cool with it.
No doubt.
I'm not offended at all. It's for some reason being called emo at the age of 28 is way more palatable than being called emo at the age of 16. So.
And I think another big reason for that too might be just the fact that a lot of us that when we were growing up and when we were like 16, 15, whatever it might be, like going through middle school, high school, a lot of times when that those genres, pop punk, emo, were prevalent or just kind of starting to go on the downturn. But the thing was it was still a popular thing, and a lot of people, they might have shied away from it, or they might not have ever said that they liked it. But now you see how many people are just like connecting with it once again. I mean, emo TikTok is an absolutely enormous thing right now. Everyone's starting to get into that once again. And you're starting to see people that are in their mid to late 20s, even in their 30s, really like showing like, oh man, I've always been an emo kid. It's like, well, yeah, because it's good freaking music. So
yeah, and all these clubs are starting to do like emo night, and like the emo night tours and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I still listen to a lot of those bands. I think I really think that term started getting like used with a negative connotation to try to just like downplay, some rock music. Like genre, even to this day, like some people will still be like, yeah, you guys are kind of screamo, right? And I'm like, no, like not really. Like some of our music gets pretty aggressive and metal, but like, and we get labeled as metal bands sometimes, but I don't really think of us as a metal band. I think we have some metal inspiration here and there, but I feel like we kind of, have our own thing with that going. But I think that's one of those terms that's just like used to dismiss some kind of, hard rock or metal. Is just like, oh, it's just screamo or it's just emo. And it's like, you don't even know what you're talking about.
And you could definitely, like, I guess if you want to go by the stereotypical definition of emo, you could probably apply that to some of our music. After I got called emo, I went and listened to Leave Me for Dead, and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of emo, but like at the same time, I'm here for it because I was a fan of it, growing up, and there's obviously a lot of people out there that still enjoy it. So if that's what the label we're going to get hit with, I'm all here for it.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a label you're going to get hit with that much, though. Even with Leave Me for Dead as well, where it does have some of those tendencies in there, it does have some of those sounds there, because that was the one song.
It's more like a lyrical thing, if anything, for me. Like the lyrics.
Because like I really went deep that song, like really took a whole like full on deep dive listen to it, and that was really where it came out with the whole entire emo sound. I was listening to the lyrics, the theme around it really fits in with what a lot of those the emo songs were singing about, and continue to do even to this day for the bands that are really starting to try and essentially, I'm not gonna say revive the genre because it's really starting to come back again, but be like the next wave of emo bands, because they're really starting to hit on a lot of this stuff right now. And I really want it to come back because, again, it's good music, but it's just going to take time, and also kind of break a little bit of the stigma of that, like, oh, it's emo for like the, the cool people who think they're, too cool for it, even though they're probably the ones that are, in the shower while no one's around, cranking MCR and all of a sudden singing when I was a young boy.
For sure.
No doubt.
For sure.
I mean, even bringing up like with what guys said, like you're seeing emo nights pop up all across the country. Yeah, we don't have emo night here in Milwaukee because we have something a little bit different. Still kind of the same concept, though. We call it Sad Boy Saturday. And
I like that.
And it's like, it's crazy because like I'll go there and it's like I see people that I see when I go to concerts. So I see the same people there, and it's awesome because I'm like, when I see these people at concerts, we're going to see metalcore shows, we're going to see punk shows, like this is, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing people like I potentially even went to high school with or like middle school with that like were trying to be the cool kids back then. I'm like, huh? Okay, whatever. So you're seeing this huge array of people, and we're all at a bar drinking, and we're just singing along to like MCR, All Time Low, just having a blast. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they start playing Downfall Is All by Day to Remember, and someone shoves me, and I say it's go time, and literally we have a mosh pit going at a bar night.
I'm here for
Sounds like a good time.
Oh, it absolutely is. So if you guys are looking to start anything like emo night in your neck of the woods, that's what you got to do.
No, they got it covered.
Saturday.
And then also sprinkling some of your music as well in there. Be like, yeah, we got some stuff from us.
I'd be like, I remember this song. Who is this? And then I'd be like, you don't remember this song. It just came out. But nice to know that we're emo though. We fit in.
But even like, because you did bring up Leaving for Dead kind of having more of that emo style as well to it, a little bit more in the lyrical tendencies, I can easily see that. So I gotta ask, because again, that was the one song I did a super duper deep dive in. I've got like 3 pages of notes on this song that are sitting right in front of me on one of my computer screens right now. So I gotta ask, by starting out this, when it came to Leave Me for Dead, what's the core meaning behind this whole entire song?
Well, started actually writing the song 5 years ago. I'd been with this girl for a long time, and we were on tour, and I found out she was cheating on me while we were on tour, and that's where I started writing the song. And it's evolved quite a bit since then. I actually found the original version of it the other day on my computer, and I was listening to it, and I was like, whoa, this is not even close to the same song. And it's kind of something we do when we start writing, is like, it'll start with an idea, and then we try to make sure, there's so many times I watch like storytellers and stuff like that going on, and it was always the singer telling the story of or his story of how the song was written. And it's something we try to focus on is making that song everybody's story in whatever way we can. And that way, it's hitting Cody a certain way, it's hitting Mikey a certain way, it's hitting Anthony and me all in its own certain way. So the song at its very core is about, having somebody that you really trust, they're your ride or die. And you give all of them to you give all of yourself to that person. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a girlfriend or a boyfriend, but just somebody you really put a lot of faith and trust into, and give them yourself. And then they just turn around and, stab you in the back. Yeah. And, that's where trust, really. Like the Burn Me Again. And, I never thought you'd leave me for dead. Those are the exact lyrics. It's like, you're the last person I thought would do this to me. Yeah. And that's the basis of that song.
Yes, it's about betrayal of trust. Really, it doesn't have to be somebody you're in love with, or even really somebody that you like. Just somebody that you're trusting, you're relying on, and that person, when the shit hits the fan, that person is just nowhere to be found. They're not there. They don't got you back, and that's kind of really what it was about. Like you said, it a lot of the times, not all the time, but a lot of the times in this band, like. I guess mostly with Scotty and sometimes me as well, like, because he does most of the lyrics, but it'll stem from an individual place, the origin of the idea will, because he'll have that idea and then he'll bring it to the table and explain his feelings on it. But then over time, after, weeks or months of working on this song as a conjunctive group, it then becomes this bigger, more global thing than it previously was. That way, even though Mikey maybe didn't go through that, he still has his own way of connecting with those lyrics.
Right. Mine is definitely more literal in the sense of some of those lyrics, since I escaped an abusive relationship at the time and was literally left outside in the cold, called my friend from like an hour and a half away to come pick me up with all my belongings. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like I said, I started writing the song, 5 years ago. And even today, it has a different meaning to me than it did then. Even today, like, through the stuff I've experienced over the last 5 years, that song now hits me in a little bit of a different way. So
I find that sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, I think that's what makes it to where our songs are more relatable to more people, and where more people can grasp onto it. Because there might be, a line in the original version where, Cody or Mikey or Anthony or somebody was like, I feel what you're saying, but I don't relate to that. And I'm like, and so then we go, okay, well, how can we make it to where we all relate to this line? That way we're all feeling it, and it's genuine to everybody. And I think that's the goal, is to make it the most genuine for all of us.
I find that like a lot of my favorite songs, I guess, the ones that I tend to connect with repetitively as opposed to just on one topic. The key to those songs really is just that situational application. And, I might hear like, Crawling in My Skin by Linkin Park, at the age of 16 and feel a certain way. And then I can hear that same song 10 years later and be in a completely different place in my life and still find a way to connect to that. And that to me is something that a lot of really great songs have.
Oh, I agree with you on that. On that 100%, man. And the biggest thing I can say about that too is even from my own personal standpoint, when I first heard "Save You by Rise Against" when I was like 14 years old, I'm like, holy shit, this is the best song ever. And I just love the way it sounded. And all of a sudden, as time went on, I developed a different understanding with the song. Then 2016, end up starting to date this girl that I met at a Rise Against show. So now this song had a whole new meaning. When her and I split up, now it had a deeper, darker meaning. I never wanted to listen to it. Then I saw the band live just by myself as like a try and make myself feel better thing. They played it. I jumped into a mosh pit for the first time, and now the meaning had evolved once again. So one person that was like, even when it deals with like, just being okay after a breakup, I'm like, as time goes on, like I connect with it so much more fully as life goes on. And it's still a couple ways with some other songs as well. Numb by Linkin Park is another great one to put for that as well.
Sure.
But when it comes to like Leave Me for Dead, what you guys were talking about with that, where it kind of has that evolving nature of it, even though like with what you said, Scotty, where you're talking about when you wrote it 5 years ago, you were dealing with something that was really, close and near to your heart that it's going to be put in the song. However, over the past 5 years, your understanding of that idea of that moment might have evolved a little bit.
Absolutely.
So your connection to the song evolves a little bit. Same thing with you, Cody. Same thing with you, Mikey, as you talked about as well. And even when I was going through, like, that was one of the major things I picked up on this song when it comes to trying to figure out the meaning of it. Because I think I was really close to really getting what you were coming after, because how I put it was that the meaning of Leave Me for Dead deals with the feelings of being left by someone that you really cared for and had a strong emotional connection to. The song talks about what that person that you really trusted leaves you, when the shit hits the fan, the chips are down and things get tough, how you feel abandoned or left there to kind of rot. And then it transitions to how that makes you feel about yourself and the internal struggle you go through to process what has happened and how it makes you feel about yourself here on out.
Yeah, you nailed it, man. That was, were you there when we wrote it?
Yeah. If you want to write summaries of the rest of our songs, I'm cool with that.
You're on it, dude. If there was a target, you're right in the middle.
I'll say, if just send those songs my way, guys, because I can make that happen. I'm more than happy to do that. But I think the biggest reason why it's like when I go through these songs, why I can really connect them the same way, almost the same way that you guys did. But of course, it's gonna be a little bit different on the per side of things because we all go through different things in life. But I've felt that before as well. So listening to song, listening to lyrics, and really trying to understand it. Like, that's what ended up happening was take the emotion of the song, take the emotion of the instrumentals, the lyrics, the vocals, put it all together. And then now I get to understand where that emotion is coming from. But then my mind's going to fill in the pieces with my own life to have me better relate to the song.
That's our goal, really. It's like I feel like we've done a pretty good job of this. It's just kind of the way we write, but we really honed it on this new record. The last record, we were still touching on a lot of the same topics, I feel like, kind of in a less vulnerable way. Kind of like, this is an issue, but like I'm not going to let it affect me. That was kind of the mindset for the last record. And on this one, we kind of flipped the script and we were just like, this is how we feel. And it's okay to feel this way, or it's okay to, deal with these things. And in the process, of doing that, we wanted to make sure that, to me, I call it paint the picture. Like, from a visual audio standpoint, it's like I don't want to give the listener too much of that image to where it takes away from their experience. And what you just described tells me that, at least with that song, we accomplished our goal because we wanted to leave those few puzzle pieces out for you to fill in and make it your own.
Well, on something like this, what you guys are doing is you found that perfect balance between being literal enough to the point where you can help guide, whoever's going to listen to the song through whatever you're trying to guide them through in terms of the meaning of the song, the story you're trying to tell. But you also left it metaphorical enough, and you had that side balanced out, whichever my camera is. Yeah, so it's like literal and metaphorical. You kind of balance them out with the metaphors so that you weren't so literal to the point where unless you went through that exact same thing specifically, you're not going to relate to it. Or you didn't go so metaphorical where it's, okay, it's a lot easier for us to put our own interpretation in there. But trying to have you guide through exactly what you're trying to take us to, it's a lot easier to get sidetracked and lost and go on a different tangent.
We had a lot of conversations about that too when we were making the record, because we would bring song ideas to the table and felt like it was too, the picture was too painted. And we really had to kind of discuss where we wanted to find that medium of giving, the detail while also subtracting from. So, we spent a lot of time, discussing that, and it makes me feel good to hear you have good things to say about it.
Oh, it's something I'm a huge proponent of, especially through this podcast when it comes to writing music as well, due to the fact that, again, if you guys are able to kind of paint that picture a little bit more for us, but it's more like it's more like painting just the background to the point where now we can tell what's going on. We can understand where we're going from with this. And when it comes to the emotion of the song, yeah, we can easily pick it up now.
I never really thought about it this way till you just said that, but it's kind of like a movie set. Like we provide the movie set and you insert the actors, and I never really thought about that till you mentioned it, but that's a good way to think of it.
Yeah, it's like you guys are like the stage hands or something like that. It's okay, let's put this all together over here. Let's put this here. We'll put this here. And all of a sudden now, for us, when we're listening to it, it's our job to basically put the actors in there, put the story behind it, tell them what to do. But we have the background, we have the musical overlay, we have the emotional setting already there visually, and now we have to put the action in ourselves.
Sure. That's it.
I'm going to start using that as like the way I describe this now, because that is utterly fantastic.
Cool. Yeah, man. I like the way you put it together.
Well, thank you very much. But even like going further into Leave Me for Dead as well, because like I said, like when I dive deep in these things, I just don't just find out the meaning and then just listen and say, okay, that's it. No.
That's cool, man. I like the deep questions.
It's going to get deeper. It's going to get deeper, like in terms of how this song and how you guys constructed it portrays what you guys are trying to portray here. And like right from the intro, because I looked at it, it was like a lighter drum fill that goes into more of this consistent hard rock sound with some heavier guitars and bass work to give this heavier feeling to the song overall. So it already provides you feeling like this heavier emotion. But then about halfway through the intro, this is where it got interesting for me. There was this electronic overlay that was pieced over the entire intro, and the second half creates more of this techno-y distorted feel to the song over what's already going to be with this more hard rock style. And I really liked what this intro had, because having that distortion in there, it added more of this feeling of like processing struggle when it comes to the core of the song. So you're processing through the struggle of feeling abandoned, of feeling left out, of, someone that you cared most in the world, breaking that trust and leaving you completely. And then you trying to understand and try and figure out how you feel about yourself and go forward from there. Having that in there creates this distorted mindset to the point where it's not easy to figure out, because your mind's going in so many different ways. And after the emotional thing that you just went through, where someone that you fully trust has kind of just left you high and dry, you're kind of at a loss and you don't necessarily where you are, and your mind's scrambling to figure it out. And that like techno-y kind of overlay gives that distortion feel to really put your mind in that headspace.
Awesome.
Yeah. The whole idea actually behind that part was to create that emotional tension. Building that up and making it just chaotic, and, your brain's just kind of scrambling, and then everything just kind of sucks back in and goes into
everything that's happening there musically is kind of designed to bring tension and, conflicting notes. Like the entire riff is built out of a chromatic key. So, I mean, you don't really realize it, but your brain is kind of struggling to figure out where the musical reference is, that entire section. And then, like you said, one of the distorted programming kind of comes in over the top. It kind of just adds a little bit more of that like gritty tension vibe. So it's kind of what we're going for. It's good to hear somebody throw that back out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey man, it's like I love listening to stuff. Like I love going deep in it. Again, it just helps me to understand that as well, due to the fact that when I was going through something like this, again, I remember how crazy my brain was going, to the point where it was always running. I was always thinking about something, always wondering what the hell was going on, trying to piece everything back together while everything was falling apart at the same time as well. It was like that episode of SpongeBob where they're trying to rebuild his house after the nematodes eat it, and he's like pounding those boards in to try and every single time, like after he gets like two of them, the board falls and hits Patrick in the head. It's like, it felt like that with my brain. It was like, okay, I'm going to put one of these on to go to the next one now, and that one's going to fall off. Like I kept going over and over and over and over and over again. And that programming distortion just kind of really brought me back to that personally. So again, and it all depends upon, the inciting incident, even though there was so much more on the underside that I really didn't, notice until years later and understand until years later. But the inciting incident of that person that I cared about the most in the world, like no longer, having her around me, it really kind of messed me up, and like it was the insane incident to really get this all in emotion. And that really, it really felt like that. Hell, I went sleepless countless of nights, and it wasn't because, I just was trying to go out and do other things. No. I just couldn't sleep. My mind wouldn't let me sleep. So that distortion adds so much to it, just trying to go through the days where I'm still dealing with this stuff. However, I couldn't sleep because of it, because my mind couldn't shut off, and now I'm still thinking about it.
It's interesting that you enjoyed that, mix element in the track too, because I remember before it was in there, its original idea, it was like kind of Issues, Limp Bizkit influence. We wanted to have like a DJ do some scratching, and for whatever reason, the scratching didn't play out the way we wanted it to, so that's what ended up in there. But I still kind of would have liked to hear the scratching personally. But
the scratching would have been interesting, but it might have been just a little bit too much in terms.
That's why we didn't do it. Yeah, it was a little less subtle than we felt like it needed to be. So he didn't make it in.
Yeah, the overtness of it would have put.
Feel as though you were in the studio with us, bro.
Your service is a little iffy there, brother.
Yeah, it was just a little spotty on that one. But basically, kind of going there with there, it's like
actually, I think my phone's about to die.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of struggling right over there.
Hang it up.
Oh no! You guys got me?
Yeah, I mean barely. Yeah,
barely, but
right.
Still.
Look, I think my phone's about to die, man. I'm so sorry.
Hey, it's all right, Scotty. Hey, we got a good 53, 54 minutes with you, so.
Right on. Well, you guys enjoy the rest, man. Hey, we'd love to come back anytime. You kicked ass, dude. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Hey, Scotty, we'll do it again, man. We'll do it again.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, bud. But jumping even back further into Leave Me for Dead once again, it's like, again, when you kind of bring in that scratching thing, again, I totally understand where you guys could have worked with it because it does create that distortion, but it would have been so upfront and it would have been so tied in with more of potential new metal styling. Sure. It would have really.
Well, the big hangout for us really was the fact that it's a sound that's primarily associated with a DJ, and obviously because we don't have a DJ in the band, we didn't really feel up to kind of putting it in there, because most of the stuff we do, even though it's obviously not human sounds or guitar sounds or whatever, we don't really try to accentuate that too much if it's not, we want the focus to be on the band and the instruments for the most part. All the programming and stuff is just the sprinkles and the additives to make it look better.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to add those in there as well. Sure. And especially because I even brought this up, I forgot what band I brought this up with, but it's at times they were talking about how sometimes they're afraid to use some backing tracks, add some of the stuff in there because they want to give the most unique live performance possible. I'm like, but think about this. Think about pretty much every single band now uses backing tracks because sometimes there's a lot of electronic programming that's done in there to smooth something out, to give the guitars a little bit of a different sound to them. There's so much more going on where if you have those backing tracks and those backing pieces in there, whatever, all I care about is the fact
that's definitely a two-edged sword, like a double-bladed sword, the whole track thing. A lot of people in this industry are very conflicted about it. I will say personally, we run, quite a few tracks. We've got lots of digital, computer sounds and programming and stuff, like fake drum beats and stuff that are kind of happening. And, we like to make things sound good. We don't really get crazy with we don't do vocals, stuff like that. Because, we just want it to be real and organic. But there definitely is, for me, it's a application is key. Mm-hmm. Are you using it to make yourself sound better, or are you using it as a crutch to cover up and, add things that you can't duplicate on the stage? And those are two different things. We play, anything that you hear come out of those speakers as far as guitars and acoustic drums and stuff go, and vocals, we're doing that stuff on the stage. Whereas, sometimes an artist might just track it all and go up there and lip sync, which we're not super down with, but that's not how we work.
No one really is down with that. No one's really down with the whole lip syncing thing. But again, what you said is just understanding the application of it to where if you're going to use something like that, don't use it as a crutch to rely on. Use it as an accessory. Use it as an enhancement piece to really bring out something that you're trying to bring out in the song emotionally.
It's like having a super dope outfit to go out in, but you just need a really good hat, the track is our hat. We've already got the rest of the outfit going up there, but when we put that hat on, the outfit is
yeah, it was but another way to put it too is the wedding I had to go to yesterday that before we shot this, it was, we had all the groomsmen stuff and whatnot, and yeah, we all look good. But of course, what's that one little extra thing you need to pull out together? Need the tie. That's it. So if all that stuff just had to be the tie. It's gonna be
tie up, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be something that it's gonna end up being noticed, but it's something that is not the main build of the whole entire ensemble. Sure. It is a small piece to add more to the whole entire thing as a whole and not just add to that part.
And I feel like, with the way the music industry, especially like in the rock and metal world now, like production has just advanced so far. And there's, especially for a band at our level, if you're not Bring Me the Horizon or Metallica or somebody like that, like the only way to bring the sounds from the record to the live setting in a lot of cases is that way. Like we have, programming, orchestrated parts like violins and stuff. And there's no way that we can play that stuff ourselves on stage. We didn't play it in the studio either, like that's performed by somebody that knows much more about that stuff than we do. So it's one of those things where it's like, if we want those aspects to be included in our live show as well, the only way to do that is to track it. So, and honestly, I like playing the tracks because we just are so much tighter. Everybody has a click, like we're all on the same page. So to me, it's, we the day that we started using tracks, I was like, I'll never go back. This is so much better.
See, like we said, it works to help, and if it works to help enhance the music, it works to help enhance the live performance as well. By all means, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, you guys aren't on a level of like Bring Me the Horizon, where all of a sudden, if they're gonna end up doing something, they're gonna be able to provide a whole orchestral version behind it if they really want to.
Yeah.
Which they have done before. You can look online, just look up Shadow Moses from Royal Albert Hall, and they've got a full-on like children's chorus. They've got a full-on orchestral piece. They've got everything for it. It's cool. It's really
even
cool.
For those bands, I mean, like the logistics behind, trying to put a full symphony at every concert on a tour, that's just hardly feasible at all. Unless it's,
Metallica's only even done it twice.
So I mean, like it's kind of just the way of the industry. I don't think people understand like how much production is being put into the music that they listen to on their phones and on the radio, and it programs their ear, to expect a certain amount of perfection. And I think that, if you took tracks away, a lot of people would probably be upset, what their favorite artists sound like without those tracks, because there's a lot of them that don't do it like we do, that kind of just go out there and let the track play and look good. And it's pretty disheartening to watch that happen sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely, because it's at that point too, even from a fan's perspective, it's if we get to notice something where all of a sudden it's okay, you guys are just kind of up there, just basically using the whole entire backing track notion as the catalyst for the show and not as an accessory to what you're doing as the live performer, supposed to be, actually playing your music, singing your songs, that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna say any bands that do or do not do that, due to the fact that, one, I'm not necessarily 100% sure of any of the bands that do or do not do that. So I can't really make any kind of waves at.
Well, the best bands always make you guess. The ones that are doing it the best are the ones that where you have to be like, that sounds too good, but I can't tell it's a track. So I mean, that's the appropriate way to do it. Then there's the opposite extremes, people that use no tracks, and then people that are like all tracks. So
yeah, it's something where it's like, if you're not 100%, it's like they sound fantastic, they worked incredibly well, but were they using tracks? Are they not using tracks? Like, okay, now you got something here. Then there's ones like, okay, they're using tracks, but again, are they using those tracks as the accessory to the show to make sure that the production that you want to experience from that live show and from the songs being brought out there? Or if they're using no tracks, I mean, that's kind of just the old school way of it. So totally fine.
There's a lot of bands that sound good doing both. It's just different strokes for different folks.
Perfect way to put it, man. Perfect way to put it. And even with you guys, well, like, when you guys go out on tour and you guys play Leave Me for Dead, I mean, you're definitely going to want to make sure you have that piece in there, so that in that intro that is brought out there. However, really, when you go through the rest of it as well, because even when you go into the verses, because it kind of has like a 2-part system in those verses from what I pulled out, because it's like the first measure ends up having this softer piano style when the vocals are over it. And the second measure, you have more of this like melodic fill style from the drums and the bass guitar specifically. And the second half of the verse takes more of this consistent approach. Guitars have more of a prominence over the consistent, heavier tom-focused style drum pattern. And when I looked at this, it was two things. One is, this wasn't the most standoutish thing in the world, but it necessarily didn't have to be, because it provides that building of the chorus, it being part of us, that lets us let go of all that emotion and really get out those feelings of abandonment, loss, and understand those. But when it comes to a live set as well, like just having that piano feel over the vocals, or underneath the vocals, my bad. Yeah, in a live setting, unless you have a pianist out there, I mean, you're not going to be able to provide that live. But if you don't have that if you don't have a backing track in that's going to provide that during your live set, then the song's not going to sound right. The emotion's not going to feel right.
Sure. It's I mean, it would be like, I don't really know if this is a good analogy or not, but I feel like if you were to take the tracks away from our show, it'd kind of be like trying to perform a Marvel movie on Broadway. Like same actors, like it's probably going to be pretty good, but you're not going to have the same production value that you would get if you were actually watching the movie. And that's kind of how I feel about it, at least as far as our set goes.
That is another really good way to put it, because again, think about it differently. If you have a Marvel production on Broadway, you might have the same actors, you might have all that same stuff. So you're going to get a lot of the same delivery. You're going to get a lot of the same emotion and feel from a lot of the stuff that's there. But when it comes to, when you're at the movies, you get all the special, you get all the special effects stuff. You get all the crazy stuff from the fight scenes. You get all the extra
color correction.
Exactly. And when it comes to if it's on Broadway, you're just not going to get that fully. And if that's what if you're going to be expecting something that grand, if you're going to be expecting the battle at the end of Endgame, and all of a sudden you see it on Broadway, exactly. And you were expecting what you saw in the movie, you're going to feel let down.
Exactly. And that's just kind of where we lean to the tracks, And it's like, for instance, I don't, maybe, what's the name of like a popular Broadway play? I can't think of any. I don't watch Broadway, but those are written for Broadway. So those are kind of like the bands, that like write their shit knowing that they're not going to use tracks. They're not going to do any of the extra stuff. They're just going to like raw vibe it. And those guys, they write their show for Broadway. We write our show for Hollywood. And that's kind of the difference in the track conversation for me.
Yeah.
Let's say, my God, just thinking about that, it just keeps adding more and more to the idea on an understanding behind using, those backing tracks live. Again, using that as an idea. When you I'm trying to think of another example, anytime they took anything from, I'm just trying to think of a good idea. Anytime they took anything, any movie and try and put it on Broadway, Marvel's a great example, even though I'm not sure if they've ever done a Marvel production.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man's good on Broadway.
Okay.
Or when they did The Lion King on Broadway, whatever, that kind of stuff, where when it comes to the storytelling, the emotion, the drive, the passion that's behind there, yeah, it's going to be that's going to be there consistently. But it just all depends upon, if you write it specifically, like you said, for Broadway, there's going to be the limitations that are there, but you're going to end up maximizing on what those limitations are. But if you're writing it for Hollywood and you're going to end up adding those extra things in there, then yeah, you're going to end up wanting to have those things in there. But again, you're going to want that still core to be the storytelling part of the song, the raw parts of it with you guys with the guitars, the bass, with the drums, with the vocals, without adding any crazy distortions or any electronic programming inside of there as well.
Sure. Yeah. Everything you said, you're right on point. That's kind of, the way I view it as well.
And I'm just sitting here thinking my God, okay, now this is just adding a whole new idea and a whole new appreciation for myself.
Sad boys, man, we go deep.
Hey, yeah, if you give us a chance to go deep, we gonna go deep. That's just the
sad boys go deep.
Sad boys go deep, and even as we keep going through leading through that as well, because they get to the quicker pre-chorus transitions, and I like with the guitars because they open with a little bit of a lighter sound, building electronic influence over it until we get this melodic tom fill. And I like the tom fill here because it keeps the pace of the song really well, and it kind of keeps it going with more congruent feel that still is relevant to the overall core. It feels a lot more natural and keeps the song flowing through the emotional toll your mind is going through dealing with abandonment. So it basically keeps the thing flowing as all of a sudden this lighter guitar tone kind of comes in to just kind of give you this whole entire different transitional piece. But it's still, but then that tom fill connects the song still together. So again, when it comes to the construction of this, through the storytelling of this through your instrumentals, it's there's different parts, again, different strokes, different folks, different parts for everything, but the main thing is as you go from piece to piece to piece, from section to section, there's a congruency there.
Sure. One thing we think about when we write musically a lot is the dynamic of the song. Because of the way that, culture and social media and, the people consume their music, the attention span of a listener has decreased so much. And it's kind of one of those things for us, when we're writing a song, one of our main goals throughout that song is to constantly be introducing or varying things in different ways to keep the listener introduced. And a lot of the things that you're talking about were kind of put into the song with that in mind, the subtlety of the bass and the drums in the second verse, for instance. It's basically doing the same riff that the guitar comes in to join afterwards, but to us that was an important addition just because of how it's building that energy as that story is happening lyrically, and just really ramping it up. like we talked about Marvel, when you do Endgame, obviously the massive battle at the end is like the climax of the movie. And if you were to view that on a movie storyboard, the energy probably goes something kind of like this. And that's kind of how, I feel like a song needs to be. You've got to have your introduction, your establishment of the story, then your big event, which is usually like a bridge or a solo or something like that. And then you kind of solidify, how that story is going to play out with your last chorus. And those dynamics I felt like really played a good part in, painting that stuff, because we really paid attention to what was being played and in a lot of cases what wasn't being played in those sections.
Well, it's like when you guys are putting this together, your thought process is if this song is going to be like a movie, because when people listen to this, it's going to be like a 3.5 minute movie that people are going to run through in their heads through this emotional story that we're telling them. It's going to want to have an intro. It's going to want to have, the introduction of those main characters. It's going to want to have that Billy moment to that climax point, which is, again, like you said, usually the solo or the bridge, or especially with metalcore, the breakdown, because I gotta love those breakdowns.
And we're a sucker for a good breakdown too, man. So we love it.
And then you get to the final chorus and the outro that can really kind of wrap it up, and then potentially even introduce a continuation or introduce, going into something else, especially when it's on an album run through, because all of a sudden, and that was because listening to a bunch of like the songs that like I listened to, when I was a kid, because it was all the stuff my dad would listen to. So it was a lot, again, like Van Halen, ZZ Top, Poison, Rush, that kind of stuff. We listened to Poison. This was consistently something that always bugged me, and now I now understand why. It was listening to their songs. It was how they ended. It was because they always had that classic, that fade out. And it was like, it's like whenever I hear that fade out, I'm like, that kind of just like feels like, okay, going off the sun, that it's the end. That's it. And all of a sudden you had to go do another song. It's going to do the exact same thing. It's just like, like it just doesn't feel, especially on elements, there's a congruent feel to it. Listening to the album What the Dead Men Say by Trivium, they do use that fade out at one time, and that's it. And that's in the last song on the album.
Definitely kind of become a trick from the past a little bit. I don't hate a fade out, but I do see where you're coming from. It seems like, it'd be really easy, I guess, production trick to overuse a little bit. I don't think we've ever done a song with a fade out, have we before?
I don't think we
should do it on the next record.
Very popular in the 80s. Yeah, I hated it though, because they always did these awesome guitar solos and they started fading out.
Oh,
like, where's it going? I can't hear
Rat
it.
was always the worst of that. Like Rat's, I guess their most popular song is the perfect example, but Round and Round. Yeah. It's like at the end of the song, they're jamming this outro, and Warren D. Martini is just like shredding like probably one of the better parts of the song, and you just like have to slowly, painfully listen to that disappear.
It's like, no, don't go.
Yeah, seriously. Every time I'm like, I want to hear more of that.
Yeah, but again, it's something, like you said, it's kind of a trick of the past. Like we might say, again, trick of the past. But really what it comes forward is just, you can continue to use it, but when you overuse it, especially like they did in the 80s, and I'm going to say Poison because that was the one that sticks out in my mind. Mm-hmm. It was just, I think it was when they open up and say I album. It was just, they used that so many times. And it just kept, for me, it was just, okay. It feels like every single song is like.
See, I think that's why, the process of making a record and writing a record for us is so painstaking, is because we literally look at every single detail like that. And we're like, okay, we've already done this. Like we've got to do something a little different here. And there was a lot of that when we were writing this new record. You kind of get it to a place with your writing and the things that you're listening to. And a lot of that seems to sound the same, and you got to find little ways to tweak this here, flip this on its head so that it's a little different than the last time you did it. And I can see how that, especially in the 80s, it's not like you're really on the cutting edge of like prog musicianship necessarily, other than their guitar players, I guess. But I can see how they probably overdid the fade a little bit, especially Poison. I mean,
yeah,
come on, I like some 80s hair metal and stuff, but Poison wasn't the most instrumentally savvy band on the scene.
No, they were not. But again, it just brings up a whole nother aspect is what you're talking about where, and it's something that you mentioned earlier too, I'm going to bring up to kind of, really wrap this in, because you brought up how when you guys are going through this record, writing it, making it, you went through all these subtle, different little things. You wanted to make sure that everything was perfect. So you went through each part, each note, everything. And you really want to do it so that when you go through the album, you go through from top to bottom, or you listen to any single song off of it, you're going to be able to fully understand the story, fully understand the emotion, and fully, again, put that story together with the movie set and the background that is being placed in front of you by the band, and then you putting your own, like, experiences, your own characters in there playing out so you can better relate to what you went through. And when it comes to one of the biggest problems, I think this adds on to what you're talking about with the way music is consumed these days with streaming. It's, if people aren't like hooked in the first like 10 seconds, they write off those bands forever. And it's like, no, don't do that, because if I would have done that, you want to know how many bands I would have passed up on and then been like, oh, why don't I listen? They're good. There's been like over half of the bands that I've ended up having on the podcast. It's like, oh, the first song I find on there is on Spotify. Oh, it doesn't hit with me right away. Instead of just, after 10 seconds, just saying, no, I'm going to go back and just listen to Rise Against, something like that. No, give me 3 or 4 songs and let me actually understand where this artist has a little bit more on them. See where they're coming from.
I definitely feel like that's
I'm
a
gonna
big
miss
part
out
of, the perception as far as like a band goes. When we were making this record originally, we were going to do a 5-song EP. And there were a lot of conversations that were had kind of about what you touched on, like sample size. And as a listener, how much of an artist do I need to form my opinion on that artist? And we decided that was at least half a record, if not more, because we felt like we had a lot to say. But I'm a little bit old school in that sense. I feel like, if I'm going to fully understand an artist, I definitely need more than one song.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's what happened with me. First, I listened to Motionless and White. It was like, okay, let's see what their top song on Spotify is. And it's Voices. And I listened, I'm like, this isn't what I was expecting, but okay. And then I'm thinking, do I keep going? Do I stop here? I'm like, nah, let's go. I got to go at least one more, right? Then Eternally Yours played, and I was hooked. I was like, this is why you go more. This is why you listen to more than just 10 seconds of one song.
Yeah, see, you're talking about Motionless and White, I'm assuming. They're one of those bands for me. I'll be honest, I'm not like the biggest fan of their later stuff, but their Reincarnate album I really enjoyed. I thought it was, pretty great from front to back. And if I were to just get on the radio and hear, for instance, Eternally Yours, or Eternally Yours, I probably wouldn't get as excited about that, hearing that as only my sample size as I would if I heard like Reincarnate or Generation Lost. Those songs to me are way more my style. So perception's a big thing. You gotta like lay it all out on a fruit platter and just be like, what kind of fruit do you like? Strawberries or kiwi or what?
Exactly. And even bringing up what kind of like what you just brought up with those examples too, where it's like, if, in the same sample size, where it's like, if I was given Reincarnate, I would probably pass on Motionless White entirely because I just don't care for the song. But if you gave me Generation Lost, I'd be like, oh shit, this is all right.
Sure. Well, Generation Lost is definitely my favorite track on that record. But no, I see where you're coming from. And it's so funny. That's why I feel the need, to include all options, is because you and I have completely different, perceptions of those two records and would make opposite decisions. And that's why you have to include both so that they can choose.
Exactly. So when, you guys come out with your brand new record, of course, for everyone listening, once again, it's called Reflections, comes out January 14th, 2022. Make sure you don't forget that. Well, I'll make sure you don't forget that. I mean, if you're watching the video and you look at the bottom of the screen, it's just going to say it right there for you. So yeah, you're not going to miss out on that one. Trust me on that. But again, it's something where you guys are going to want to end up listening to the music and end up, instead of just taking the small sample size, grow your sample size a little bit more. Don't listen to the first 10 seconds of one song and then make your judgment on not only Artifas, but like any band that you listen to. Listen to it. I would say listen to at least 4. Listen to 4, and if there's multiple albums in there or multiple EPs, listen to 4 songs. And I would say from at the bare minimum 3 different albums or EPs, because sometimes I'll use
Korn is a good one for me. I like Korn, a lot of their newer stuff, but like if you play Sheets and Ladders, like I'm out on that. I don't dig Sheets and Ladders that much. So like if I didn't know anything about Korn and you played me Sheets and Ladders, I'm probably gonna pass. But then they've got like 4 other like super dope records that I like that I would have never heard, if I had just stopped after that one song.
Or it's like with me, like with Asking Alexandria, if I would listen to something that they came out with, on their brand new album in 2021, or what they did with like A House on Fire in 2020, or even their self-titled, almost every single thing I'm going to be like, yeah, no thanks. But then all of a sudden, listen to the final episode and just hear Danny go, oh my God. I'm just like, I'm in.
I think my favorite record by them is probably From Death to Destiny. I was always a fan of the 80s hair metal and metalcore combination that they were rocking with. So it's just weird, people.
It's definitely when they got popular.
Yeah.
What's that?
It was definitely when they got popular.
Oh yeah, no, they
I feel like
stepped out of emo world and into the active rock world with that record, which I thought it was good. I rocked that record for a hot minute.
Trey is another band. Like if you had played me anything before Lead Sails and Paper Anchors, I would not give two craps about it. I'm like, but that album slaps. Like,
but anything like that's 80s hair metal influence that they do, I like that shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's just the way. It's just perfect way to describe the people. It's like when it comes to trying to, when it comes to discovering a new band online, when it comes to just trying to get in with a band, again, don't listen to just one song, because you could pick a song like it's a one-off song from that band that could completely be something that, you know, is not yourself. I mean, I'll bring up Wage War as another example. Could you imagine if all of a sudden it's the first song someone hears is Me Against Myself off of Pressure? It's a softer song. It's definitely not full-on Wage War, and I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs by them. But all of a sudden, it's like if someone likes the heavier stuff, they're going to write off Wage War. If that's like, no, but now listen to High Horse and see what you think.
See, a lot of it, you know, in those situations, as far as like what people get exposed to, you know, right off the bat and make their opinions on, a lot of that isn't even really up to the band in some cases anyways. Mm-hmm. In our case, luckily we, you know, get to make those decisions, but there's a lot of bands out there that are probably signed to a record label that chooses their singles for them. So, you know, if let's say that you're signed to a big record label, they decide to pick one of your less appetizing songs and put it out first. I mean, you might be missing a really good album just because of the fact that you heard the labels pick first.
That is honestly another huge thing as well. So I think another big thing that to take from this, especially for the listeners, is when you take a look at the release schedule, especially, I mean, from a band like Artifas and a lot of other bands that are working more independently, they have the ability to pick and choose what you get as singles when the stuff comes out and really understand the process that they want to go through. With bands that are going to be on a label, though, that could be a completely different story because, like you said, they might not be the ones that are picking what singles get pushed out first and get promoted to help promote the album. They could be pushing out other singles that, you know, aren't going to be that way. And
yeah, really,
it could really.
I mean, you never know. You know, I mean, there's no like standard formula, I guess, for business relationships in this industry. So, you know, to draw, I guess, the difference between a labeled band or a non-labeled band is kind of unfair, but there definitely, you know, is kind of this thing where it seems that, you know, once you start signing with bigger companies and they have more of an opinion on how you run your business, those things do become a factor for sure.
Well, yeah, it's like where the money comes in a way. But the thing when it comes to the fans doing this is something where I think I'm actually going to call it the fans on this one. So yeah, everyone listen to this. Here's something that you're going to want to take from this. So again, when it comes to the artists, the smaller ones, the more independently run ones, they're going to be able to put out how they want to put it out, the things they want to put out. For what some of those bigger ones, I mean, and, you know, the more money gets involved, the more, you know, these work company gets involved. Again, it's a different thing, but they might not necessarily have that sort of creative power anymore to put out whatever singles they want to put out. So when it comes to that album, when it comes to whatever that is, take more accountability for yourself. If you want to try and get into the band, don't just follow along with what, you know, is being put out there as pushed as singles. Dive a little bit deeper. Take a little bit more of your own personal stock in there. Put a little bit more investment in there for your own personal time. Check out 3, 4, 5 songs, again, from a couple of different albums, from a couple of different EPs to really try and figure out, you know, is this a band for me? Because you might get a band that, you know, when the singles get pushed out there, they might be just super duper heavy. And you're like, well, I'm just not into the heavy stuff. But all of a sudden, the rest of their stuff could be just more of this more lighter, more hard rock style approach that you could really get into. Or it could be the other way around. It's just something where in today's day and age, it's so easy with how many options we have just to kind of let things come at us, but take a little bit more responsibility, take a little bit more passion in what you're doing when it comes to finding music. And if you find a band that you think you like and want to try and get into, don't listen to one song for 10 seconds and make your judgment. Like I said, pick 4 or 5 from 3 or 4 different EPs, albums, whatever it might be, listen to them and take it from there.
Yes, sir. That's what it's about.
Looks like we're calling out the fans on this one, and we're kind of bringing this one a little bit to a close because, like, I know I'm looking at time-wise, I'm like, man, we just keep going, but not gonna lie, I also still have some stuff I have to do. Like I said, I'm supposed to be going to see Bad Fall real soon.
Whenever we need to end, we can. That's all
so
up to you.
When it comes to closing this out, especially we talk about Leave Me for Dead, one thing I don't want to leave you guys hanging on is the fact that I did, again, dive deep into the song. And for everyone listening, you guys know I like to wrap everything up in this nice little overall press release style bow if you guys are ever to, you know, try and get the song. So this is what I wrote. Overall, from the hard rock perspective, the band does quite a nice job using the instrumental build from the rougher verses to lighter and smoother chorus to show your brain dealing with the emotions surrounding abandonment. The electronic overlay in the intro used to show more of that distortion that can happen in your brain with an emotional response like this is honestly quite intelligent and incredible move. However, it is Scotty's vocals that really stand out for me. From what sounds like he is singing from his teeth in the verses to struggle to process and go through emotions to a cleaner and more impactful chorus that really makes it feel like we are dealing with these emotions is a smart move. Well done to express the emotion of feeling abandoned by a family member, friend, or anyone you might be close with or have a personal relationship with. Again, well done.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, you definitely. I feel like you were watching us when we recorded this album. You know just about as much about it as I do. You could have done this interview without us, man.
but it's much more fun being able to talk to you guys and then all of a sudden getting on the stuff that we did with the production side of things, how much time and effort you put in this stuff, trying to think about these things and really understanding every little piece of it, then going to the whole entire streaming side of things, like really going into that. I mean, I could have done this by myself, but it's a lot more fun having you guys here because of the conversation go any which way it can.
Well, we're glad that you had us. It was a good time. So
yeah,
glad I had you guys on. And as we close this out, so Cody, Mikey, Scotty, if he was still here, but no phone charger.
Singers, man, singers.
So I always like to let the close the podcast by giving you guys a chance to literally say whatever you want to say, plug whatever you want to plug, promote whatever you want to promote right at the end. So floor is yours, guys.
Yeah, I would say just keep a lookout for our new record coming in January. We're going to be dropping singles, every couple of weeks or so. And we got some tour dates coming out. Come hang out with us. Check out our merch store. Check us out on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, all those places. Check us out.
Artifas.com.
And Artifas.com is our website. You can find pretty much everything from there. And thanks to the fans. Thanks to you, Kevin, for having us. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, now it's time for me to close out with my 3 things. So everyone listening, when it comes to Artifas and the brand new record, again, it's called Reflections, comes out January 14, 2022, as you can see in the bottom of the video, because that's just been plastered throughout the whole entire thing. Yeah, you're going to want to follow along with these guys. You're going to want to make sure that you're in the know with them when the record comes out, that you listen to it. Listen to the whole thing. Trust me on that. Whole thing. Going to keep saying it. Listen to the whole thing. But, what I said, like, go artifas.com. You can get directed from there. Makes it easier. I'm going to do you guys even one better, and you know exactly where I'm going with this as the fan. So, description of the podcast, YouTube's 5L Podcast, iHeart Radio, on Amazon. It's the thing that says Find Artifas Online. Links to their every single social media account. Links to YouTube, links to their website, links to their merch store, links to where you can stream, buy, download their music, pre-order it, whatever it might be. Hell yeah. It's all going to be in the description for you. Links, labels, everything. So
luckily for you, we have all those things in one link. So you don't have to copy and paste all those links.
I'll still do it, though.
You don't have to, though. I'll just send you one link and we're good to go.
Oh, trust me. I'm going to keep myself more like uniform with everything I do because it's I do it all the time, and it just makes it, you know what?
I like that. Overachiever. I like it.
Yeah. Overachieving every single day. Maybe.
Right on.
But now time for number 2, because number 2 is a promise that I like to make to every single band I have in the podcast that I have enjoyed having on the podcast. This has happened every time, and that streak, again, continues to keep going with you guys. So my promise does not start with if, because if implies possibility of it not happening. My promise to you guys starts with when. When implies it's going to happen. We just don't know date or time yet. When I see Artifas perform live for the first time. My promise to you guys is this. And yes, Scotty is also in on this as well, along with the rest of the band. Promise to you guys is this. First round's on me.
What about the second, third, fourth, and fifth?
Oh, we'll figure that out as we go along.
That's good enough, brother. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, guys, well, Scotty was here, but also Cody, Mikey, I want to thank you guys for being on the podcast once again. This was awesome having you guys on, talking about all this stuff with you guys. So this can't be goodbye. Due to the fact that I want to make good on that promise. Plus, hell, let's do this again
do
sometime.
Some more stuff. We'll definitely do it again. This was a good time.
Sure.
Hell yeah. So it's not goodbye, guys. It's see you later. Well, folks, I've been review with the guys from the band Artifas again. Their new album Reflections comes out on January 14th of 2022. Every single thing you need to get in with the band. Social media, YouTube, website, merch, where to find them on tour, where to find the album, stream it, pre-save it, download it, buy it, whatever it might be. The links are in the description of the podcast, everybody, for everything, along with everything with MSOT Rocks as well. Again, at the end of the year, at the end of 2021, the name from MSOT Rocks is going to be changed. We're just going straight Chord Progression Podcast from here on out, everybody. So that'll be at the end of the year, but yeah, everything's going to remain the same. Also, thank you, Phoenix Fitness, once again. 50% off, 15% off using the code MSOTD at checkout. And again, wrapping this up, man, this is one hell of a band to talk to, not going to lie. I love talking about just different things about music with them, the ideas behind it, and especially that idea towards the end when we talk about the programming stuff, the backing tracks, and of course, listening to stuff and not just listening to the first 10 seconds stuff. I'm a huge proponent of that, and they brought up great points to it. So remember that. Invest in the music that you want to listen to because it's going to make you connect with it even more and understand even more about yourself. So on that note, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching and listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by MSOTD Rocks, where rock and metal thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!